Hello and good morning to everybody. A good night to you if you're in the West and going to sleep. If you're on this side of the GMT, good morning. I hope you're having a great day. It's a public holiday in South Africa. It gives me a moment to catch up on some lessons that we're doing together, you and I. Do me a favor. My channel is new. There's a long way to go. I'm going to teach you the whole Bible during the coming years. So if you could give me a like and subscribe to the channel, I would be very, very happy. As you know, my name is Zuko. I'm a student of religion, and I'm teaching religion in the Bible in this channel for now. There'll be other things I'll add to it, such as lifestyle, food, travel, and other things. But for now, I want to share with you the foundations of life, and that is the Word of God in the plainest and simplest way possible. All right, let's get going. In lecture number 2, we were talking about a continuous Genesis. I showed you the Hebrew text, and I explained to you exactly the meaning of that Hebrew text. And you were able to see that in the Western Bible, in its translations, there's at least 75 to 80% details that are missing. And therefore, the question is, how can one build beliefs and doctrines on an incomplete Bible or incomplete biblical material? So if you want to know the Bible, you want to understand the world of the Bible, you must come to the Hebrew side of things. If it means finding a Jew to teach you the Bible, do it. If it means finding an Israelite to teach you the Bible, do it. And when I say Israelite, I'm not talking about black Hebrew Israelites in America. I'm talking about actual descendants of Israel like myself, people who are descended from the various tribes of Israel. We are still Israelites. Nothing will ever change that. This is now lecture number 3. And in lecture number 3, we are going to be talking about, or we're going to discover verse 2, Genesis chapter 2, and specifically understand whether the Big Bang Theory has a point or does not have a point. Based on lecture number 2, I was supposed to show you some scientific evidence of the same thing. I'm going to work on it. But now let's go look at some scientific questions or proposals that were brought to us by science, specifically the Big Bang Theory, if it's real or it's not real. But I'm not focusing on that theory. I'm just focusing on the continuation of the Torah, but it's just so that it just so happens that it touches on that, and it's very interesting. All right, I might have to make this bigger again. Let's make that bigger. There we go. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, we read in Hebrew. If you did not see chapter 1, verses 1, go to lecture 2, the continuous Genesis. Now we're in lecture 3, which is the Big Bang Theory. What does the Hebrew tell us? The Hebrew continues the story of creation, which at this point is being written by Moses, our teacher, Moshe Rabbeinu. May peace be upon him. He says, Wa'aretz, Wa'eretz haya tovu wavohu. And it says, Wechoshech el penei tehum waruach Elohim merachem merachefet el penei hamayim, which means, and the earth, wa'eretz, and the earth was in existence, hayya. Hayya is a verb, like is or was. But it's very interesting that it's a letter hey, which is related to the letter hey, which you see here. Hey is chet, sorry, not hey, chet is a closed window. Hey is an open window. So there's a relation here. It says hayya. The word for life in Hebrew is chaya. So there was life on earth. It says the earth was. So something was alive on earth. It says, or something was going on. It says, tohu vavohu. What does that mean? That is an alliteration of some sort. So let me go back to my original arrangement. I like this one better. Let's stick to this arrangement now. Why can't I get... I might have to stop sharing in order to go into the Bible. I mean, into the drawing board. But anyways, this time I'm not going to use Zoom's drawing board because I really don't like it because it's very sticky. So I'm going to open a paint canvas here very quickly. And maybe I can share my paint canvas nicely with my other screen. Let's give it a try. Yep, there's my paint canvas. Then I can stop sharing my paint canvas, or rather my Bible, and then share the whole thing like this. Ta-da! I love technology. So here we are. It says here, Ha'eretz hayat tohu vahohu. So there was an incident on earth. Okay, so this is Genesis chapter 2, and there's an incident on earth. Why is my pen like this? Because I need to fix the orientation of my pen to 90 degrees so that I have normal control. And here we are. So we are dealing with Genesis chapter 2. So let me just choose my tools nicely here. I'm looking for a calligraphy brush, maybe. Yeah. So here we are, the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 1, verses 2. Right? So the Hebrew says, Waheretz, which means in the earth, Hayya. We said this word Hayya, I'm going to write it in Roman script here. So there's Hayya. In Hebrew, this wants to tell us it was, and basically all this means that it was alive. There was activity. All right. Maybe let me move this baby across. Hold on. I have to stop sharing to do that. 1 second. All right, just want to rearrange the furniture a little bit. That's much better. And then I could go back to sharing. Voila. All right, so here's the word we are given here, Haya, which is, was, it was. We can also add the word being, which is a state of animation. So the earth was Haya. It says here, Tohu vavohu. This is very interesting because in Hebrew, Tohu vavohu in the Ashkenazi pronunciation, but in the biblical pronunciation is Tohu wavohu. Tohu wavohu. So Tohu hyphen wa vohu. Tohu wavohu. Actually, it's not a wavohu. Why do I keep writing Y? I'm so clever. It's a U. Tohu wavohu is simply an alliteration. Alliteration, what that means is it's a sound. Tohu wavohu, lightness, darkness rather, darkness. This is what's happening in tohu wavohu. Darkness suddenly changes to light. But this change of darkness to light is sudden and violent. It is sudden and violent. And so when you look at the stars and the galaxies in the night, you see a continuous creation. For example, if we read the book of Enoch, he reveals to us that in the sun itself are four angels, and these angels are responsible for the triggering of the nuclear explosions every split second or more or longer. When you look at the sun through the telescope, you can see the surface of the sun. It looks like a bubbling pot of fire. Those are those nuclear explosions. And if you look at the universe and you ask scientists how the world and the universe came to be, they're going to say there's evidence of a huge explosion and a scattering of bits and pieces of matter and debris. This is the Big Bang theory. It's a theory. It doesn't mean that it happened like that. It's a suggestion. But it is a very interesting suggestion because the Bible is talking about a similar thing. When we look at this tohu wavohu that is here, we get to understand that there was a sound, there was something extraordinary, a shift of energy from darkness to light. The verse continues and says, وَخَوْشِخْ الْپَنَي تَهُمْ وَرُوَخْ Elohim merachefet el penei. What does that mean? It means the following. Let's go back to the normal black color over here. Let me just make a division. So we know that there was a tohu wawohu, an explosion, which created all the debris and these wonderful colors and things we see in the universe in the night sky or through a telescope. But it says that the face of the earth was two things. The face of the earth was made up of water and darkness. Those are the two things that made up the earth. And then there's a third element. It says that over the face of the earth was, it says here, there was Ruach Elohim. Ruach Elohim is not spirit of God. It says here over the surface of the earth and the wind from God. Wind, if I translate directly, Ruach Elohim is spirit God. This is a direct translation, spirit God. If I translate it properly, as a linguist does, I'm a professional linguist by trade, I'm a professional translator. It should say in English, the Spirit of God. This is an English translation, but it's not what it is trying to tell us. English says Spirit of God. That's for the sake of translation and the language of the Saxons. But Spirit God is what Hebrew is telling us. What does Spirit God mean? This is what Hebrew tells us. Who or what is Spirit God? It's very simple. Spirit God is God himself. Because God does not have a body. God is spirit. He's the wind. God is the wind. He does not have a human form. So it says here, the earth being unformed and void, which darkness over the with darkness over the surface of the deep, and a wind from God sweeping over the water. So God himself, Spirit God, was hovering above the waters. If you speak to Native Americans from North America or South America, in their belief system, the Spirit God. And people make fun of the indigenous way of thinking in the West, and they're like, oh, spirit God, that's so primitive. God is like this and like that and like that and like that. But actually, those people were not primitive at all. They knew God. They called him spirit God, a great spirit. So great spirit or spirit God was doing what? He was hovering above the waters. So let's go find maybe a watercolor brush. So as we know, we have waters all over. Actually, at this time in the biblical world, or according to the biblical story, it was just water and darkness. Later in Genesis, we're going to see that God will then tell, actually, let's change the color to black. God will then tell the earth or the waters to subside so that continents are formed. So continents are not formed by shift. They are formed because God says they should be formed. That's my version of Alaska and Florida and Russia all the way to Asia. There's Australia, mate. There's New Zealand. There's Madagascar. There's Antarctica, etc. So in the later parts of Genesis, you're going to see that God speaks into existence the different continents of the dry land. And these are maintained by the shift of tectonic plates. So the tectonic plates and the volcanic magma that shapes the earth and creates new islands rather, is part of this continuous creation. Continuous creation. You can call this evolution if you want. The theory of evolution is not all wrong. There's some truth in it. And the Big Bang Theory, there's definitely some truth in it too. So in the continuous creation or evolution, we have more land being spat out by volcanic lava. We have suspension because the volcanoes and the lava keep the world balanced. Otherwise, we'll be shaking all day long, living in perpetual earthquakes. And then the continuous creation as well makes the seas and the oceans bigger. Seas and the oceans become bigger because of this continuous creation. In verse 2, there's a division between light and darkness. From darkness, we go into light. And this is violent. It produces explosions. The earth is not developed on its own, but also it's heavenly, but it's heaven that covers it, or galaxy that overshadows it. The earth was unformed and void. This is very interesting. When the scientists say millions, when the science say millions or billions of years ago, the scientists are not telling lies. They're actually telling the truth, because no one knows the age of the earth except for God. But what we do know from biblical evidence is that the earth existed before creation. All right? The earth existed before creation. In its uncreated form, the earth was just a dark place with water and darkness. And then the Spirit of God was hovering above the waters. In scientific terms, you can understand the Spirit of God, or God Himself, because He is Spirit. That was Him hovering above the earth, because we learned in the second lecture, lecture number 2, that God wanted to make the earth His home. So the Spirit of God was hovering because God wanted to see what He wanted to do with the earth. So if you come from a strong scientific background, I want you to know this, that God is equal to potential energy. God is equal to potential energy. What does that mean? It means He's creative. He's ready to bring in existence anything and everything. God is the potential, not only for the world, but He's the potential for the whole universe. He created it. And through evolution, God continues this creation that we see in science and in nature. So the world was uninformed and void, with darkness over the surface of the deep, and the wind from God, which was God himself, actually, the Spirit of God, or God's Spirit, he was sweeping over the water, contemplating what to do with planet Earth. That's verse 2 of Genesis chapter 1. And that ends lecture number 3. The next video will definitely be lecture number 4. Please give us a like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel, just to help my channel grow. I'm not only going to be talking about religion, but there are other exciting things that I'll be sharing in my channel, and I hope you will enjoy them. Have a wonderful day. Bye.